Well, welcome everybody. So who here is in the process of starting a company and looking for a better way to explain what it is to people? So most folks. So we'll do a, I'll try not to PowerPoint you to death. We'll do some slides, I'll give you a framework, and then we'll do a little workshop thing. And hopefully you can leave here with something of value. Thank you, Abby. It's always nice to be here. When called upon by Abby, like most people in Boston, I do as I'm told. So I want to start with two views on marketing. And the first one is by Fred Wilson, who is probably the most prominent VC blogger, very accomplished guy. And Fred said this at one point, and it wounded me. But it's something that you hear a lot. Marketing is for companies who have sucky products. That at the end of the day, a great product is going to find its market, and that marketing, really not that important, right? This is Jeff Schwartz, who was at Bain at the time. He's backed two of my companies, also a very good VC. And Jeff has said, startups fail because the dog won't eat the dog food. Not because you can't make the dog food, or because you can't price the dog food, or you can't find a distribution channel for the dog food. But startups fail because you figure out all those things, and at the end of the day, the dog won't eat it. And so, the question to start with is, in thinking about startup marketing, is really, it matters to the extent that you define marketing in a certain way, and to the extent that you define the word startup in a certain way. And so, I just want to start there. Who knows this guy? Steve Blank? So really, thought leader in the space. And he has said, a startup is an organization formed to search for a repeatable and scalable business model. And I love this notion, this idea of a startup as, a hypothesis in search of a business model. And if you hold that view, which I certainly do, then the process of starting a business is this process of sort of bringing together perception and reality. You start a company and you have this thing that you think you're out there selling. And you're going to corrupt your vision with the external reality. You're going to go out there and try to sell that, and you're going to listen and engage. And over time, you're going to figure out what the market really wants to buy. And that is the process of starting a company. I think the folks who haven't been through it think you sort of, the classic, I wrote it on a bar napkin, and we spent 6 years building that, and we exited for $1 zillion. It's never been that way for me. Usually you're wrong by 60%, and you figure out how to close the gap over time. As I reflect on the journey and what that process has been like, each of the companies that I've participated in, and many of those that I've advised, go through a very definite set of steps. And every startup begins as a passionate hypothesis, right? Somebody believes in this idea enough to start down the road of creating a business on the back of it. And you go through this process, think of it as sort of selling the dream, right? You're going to get some folks on board. You're going to bring some people into orbit around your idea, and you're going to get to, if you will, a sort of shared vision. So now there's a handful of you. Maybe you're in the iLab if you're lucky. Maybe you're out there in the world. You're meeting at coffee shops. You're doing whatever, hooking up after class. But this second stage is the point of shared vision. And as you get to this stage, you really need to start to explain your value proposition in a way that people understand. I mean, you do a little bit of that in the beginning. At the end of the day, even just to get your friends excited, you need a way to sort of impart this vision that you have, this hypothesis. But by this point, now you have multiple people, and they're all out, and they're telling the story. And if they're telling a different story than the one you're telling, or than the one others are telling, then the world isn't really sort of getting what you're up to. You're going to go through a process. And I think of this process as a struggle between conviction and flexibility, right? As I said, you start off with this idea. Willing something into the world that has never existed is hard. It requires conviction in the face of cynicism. People important to you will tell you your idea is bad. And you have to have conviction to make that happen. But if you pitch it to people and your dream was that it would be read, and they, you pitch it to 10 people and 6 of them say, this is cool. If it was blue, I'd buy it. Then you got to get over it and make a blue one. And so that idea of figuring out in your original concept what is absolutely non-negotiable, fundamental, and what is sufficiently at the margin that you can adjust to the feedback of the marketplace. This is a critically important stage. And it's a stage that's not conventionally thought of as important from a marketing standpoint, but this is really the phase that I want to focus on with you today in the workshop portion of our session here. If you navigate that successfully, you get to the point of proven opportunity, what some people call product market fit. This is the point at which you've sold roughly the same thing to roughly the same person, roughly the same way, 4 or 5 times. That is a cluster of dots that create a pattern. And now you feel like, okay, I have something that the world wants, and they'll pay me more for it, than it costs me to produce. So you go through the rest. This is what the rest looks like. The first is the valley of discontinuous change. This is a challenging stage, right? Startups run on acts of individual heroism. And through that heroism, some people emerge and they are rock stars, and they make shit happen. By the way, if anybody's bothered by profanity, you might want to leave. These people are really the foundation of a successful business. In the early days, they figure stuff out, and they're creative in coming up with ways to overcome problems. And the business starts to grow. And at some point, what happens is you start to bring in some professional managers, people who have done these jobs before. And one day, they lock the early engineers out of the production environment. And that's a big thing, and there's this culture clash, and you'll hear someone who used to be a rock star, one of your guys, the guy, rock star, someone says oh, that cowboy, right, your rock stars become cowboys. Their behavior hasn't changed, but the requirements of the business have. And this idea of discontinuous change for me is a very interesting idea. It's that, if someone is short and you add a millimeter to their height, they are short. And so you take that short person and you add a millimeter to their height. And we've already established that adding a millimeter to a short person creates a short person. But if you do that 1,000 times, eventually you have a tall person. So how can this be? How does incremental change result in this binary shift from one thing to something very different? Every successful startup goes through this painful transition, the valley of discontinuous change, to get to what you might think of as the race to scale. The demarcation point of the race to scale is when one of your investors says, could you go faster with another million? The answer to that question is always, it depends what the pre is. But that notion of race to scale sort of is an exciting part of it, and if you survive that, then you are just riding the rocket. And that's where Actifio is right now. It's very exciting. It's a little too exciting as we come to the end of each quarter, but we're kicking butt, and hopefully we'll have a nice outcome in a year or so. But this is the startup journey, and to bring this back to marketing, the nature of marketing in the first half of this journey is very different from the marketing that gets done in the back half. And given the room, I'm really going to focus on the first half. If we have time at the end, I'll cover some brand stuff and talk about some of that. But I really want to focus on what is marketing from the point of a passionate hypothesis up to a proven opportunity. All right, everybody good? All right. I love this quote. Really smart guy. Albert said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. And this was a life-changing insight for me. I went to school here, and I was an ad guy and made a good living as an ad guy, had certain skills in that area, and was very intimidated by finance, by math in general, truth be told. But coming here, people were so smart. They really understood the nuances of it, and it was really empowering for me to have someone who understood something so foreign to me. They understood it so well that it was actually easy to come up to speed. And that's what Einstein meant to my mind. All right, so we're going to do a little quiz. Who here wants an intuitive but powerful approach that allows UML diagramming to be code-centric instead of model-centric by giving users an interactive exploratory visualization platform? Who here is interested in that? Abby. Okay. All right, let's try this one. Who wants a nutrition-based, gluten-free food company that uses ancient grains to provide innovative products that are both convenient and delicious? A few more people. Better. All right. All right, who wants an innovative patent-pending hand hygiene solution to help hospitals improve hand hygiene compliance? Who wants that? All right, attaboy. Love it. Next to godliness, my friend. Nice. All right, so some people want those things, and that's great. All of those things are ways that I've been pitched ideas. They all come from two from Mass Challenge companies and one from a Techstars company at the beginning of the program. All right, who here wants maps that make code easier to understand, work on, and improve? Who wants that? All right. Who wants ancient food for a better life today? Yeah, okay. Who wants clean hands that save lives? So, the first thing I want to share is that all of you, to some extent, feel the need to articulate your value proposition in this very contrived, artificial, but seemingly professional and elaborate, words like robust and platform, and like, I hear it, and it's bullshit. And we know it's bullshit. Investors know it's bullshit. Just explain it to me like I'm 12. Explain it to me in a way that you would explain it to someone you actually liked. I say to people, pretend I'm a person and explain it to me. Just talk to me. And I think this is, if you walk away with only one idea, walk away with that. Just boil your value prop down to something simple and comprehensible. Don't feel like you have to articulate it in some, very contrived and seemingly more professional form. It's better for investors, it's better for employees, and at the end of the day, it's much more effective in terms of communicating to the people you're most concerned with, which is your potential customers. The way people grok an idea is that they start somewhere. You need something shiny and simple, a thought, a sentence that you put out front that you can communicate to someone in 15 seconds. And I need to be sufficiently excited about that idea to want to hear more. And once you do that, then I want to go to the, really? Clean hands that save lives, holy shit. Then I want to hear more, right? Don't feel like you have to get it all in there. And I think this is another, people feel like they got to give you the 3-paragraph version of whatever it is. Whether I'm someone you want to employ or someone you want to invest or someone you want to buy, give me the 15-second blurb in a way that makes me want to hear more, in a way that makes it relevant to me. Because that's the way we all, grok ideas. We don't consume them holistically. We don't draw them from the back of this diagram. We draw them from the front. And you need that singular, simple, compelling thought represented by the asterisk here in order to do that. Okay? All right. So I'm going to give you an example of a lot of these phenomena from my personal history. Who here has heard of M-Cube? Jody Goldstein, ladies and gentlemen. So M-Cube was a business that we started in 2002, and neat business. Bain was in it, General Catalyst, Sigma. And I actually named the company, and M-Cube stood for Mobile Marketing Management. In 2002, we were going to build a mobile marketing company that was going to be a robust platform for the blah, blah, blah. enabling mobile marketing. I had a business with offices in Sweden before this, and I spent a lot of time in Scandinavia, and they were 5 or 6 years ahead of us on the mobile thing, and we said, it's gonna happen here. So we raised some money, and we went out and we created this mobile marketing management thing. Jeff Glass ran that company, and at one point Jeff said, in a moment of frustration, you know, we're the 800-pound gorilla in a non-existent industry. The world was not ready for mobile marketing. It did not have a mobile marketing management problem. But whatever, we kept our powder dry, you know, and we were sort of feeling around to try to find something. And one day we were at CTIA in Las Vegas, which is the big trade show, and Ishwar Priyadarshan was our CTO. And Ishwar and I were talking to someone, and we had created carrier agreements with 24 North American carriers that gave us the right to distribute text messaging on the promise of this big mobile marketing thing. And so someone said to us, a content provider, was someone who did like trivia games. He said, you know, you're connected to all the carriers. Can I just connect to you and then deliver messaging to like any wireless carrier? And I looked at Ishwar, and Ishwar looked at me, and they looked at him, and he said, sure. And so, if you asked us in 2004 what M-Cube meant, we would say, with a straight face, mobile messaging management. Because we became a message delivery platform. And we delivered a lot of messages. And eventually the carrier said, hey, you know what? Maybe, you know, would you be interested in like a premium billing capability where you could charge someone 99 cents for a message? And we said, yeah, that might come in handy. And so we bought a company that owned a bunch of ringtones, and we did a deal with Warner Music. And at Beyonce.com, you could go there, and we had this revolutionary idea that what if you could buy a ringtone from, you know, for any carrier, like not just from your carrier, because at the time you could only do that. What if you could go to Beyonce.com, input your carrier, and get a ringtone right there? We do a rev share for the carriers and whatever, and this idea was huge, or huge, as they say in Rhode Island. And the company we sold in 2006 was you know, we told the acquirer, mobile media management. So what's the point of this story? The point of this story is this was a great outcome. This was an 11 or 12x outcome. It was, I think it was the largest VC exit in 2006. And it was like whatever, you know, we ate out on this. It was a big deal way back in the day. But we were 60 or 70% wrong in the beginning. And it evolved over time. And that idea that whether you change the name or not, this notion that you can start down something, you know, find a problem you can solve, a problem people will pay you to solve, and just sort of go with it. You know, look for that opportunity, stay close to it, and evolve as your understanding of the market deepens. Okay? Everybody with me? Okay. All right. With all that said, in terms of flexibility, you're betting your livelihood on a value proposition that you believe is significant, and you know, you should probably write it down someplace. And that really is what I want to do the workshop about. So I'm somewhat unique in that I have this sort of, you know, brand background, agency guy, and then I ended up doing startups. I'm not even sure how that happened. But what I've done is I've taken some of the classical positioning language that agency uses to build brands and to explain to people value propositions, and tried to translate that into a kind of framework that startups can use to articulate their value prop. So that's what this is. And if you look at a classical positioning, it has really 6 elements. And the first is, who is the target? The target is an actionable universe of buyers. And by actionable, I mean this is a group of people that you can identify and communicate with. If it's some obscure thing and it's not an observable attribute, then that tends not to be an actionable target. And so you really want to look for some identifier of people that is, at the most basic level, actionable for you from a kind of marketing standpoint. If you had a room full of people in the target, and you were working that room, it was a cocktail hour, and you were trying to figure out who was a good prospect and who wasn't, you would ask a qualifying question. And you would, in that room, over time, identify a segment. There would be some subset of people in the target audience who have some key predisposing attribute that makes them more likely to buy that which you seek to sell. So you're looking for a target, and within that target some segment, the brand. This is, a name you call yourself. It is, by the way, just as a quick aside, I think people spend way too much time thinking about what to name there. Xerox doesn't mean anything. Kodak doesn't mean anything. Like we made those things mean something over time. If you're salary.com, great. Like people know what that is. And there are certain businesses where that's important, but in the vast majority, people ask what Actifio is, and I tell them it's I don't know, it sounded vaguely Italian or Shakespearean. How now, Actifio, kind of thing. But that's lost in, really it was the only 3-syllable URL we could get, is the honest truth of where that comes from. So just to show you. All right, so now you want to identify a category that provides a frame of reference for the buyer. So another thing I hear from entrepreneurs all the time is we're creating an entirely new category. And I say, really? Well, how's the book coming? And they say, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, you're writing a book to explain this to people because if this isn't something people can relate to or that they know, that's going to be hard. It's a steep hill, It's a lot of work to create a category out of whole cloth. It takes a long time. It would be much better if you could glom onto a category that people already understand just to identify a space that makes sense. And then within that category, identify a point of distinction. Within the category that provides a shortcut for a buyer to understand what you do, what is your distinguishing characteristic? What is that which makes you unique within that category? And then finally, having made a claim of distinction, what proof can you provide to that claim? Now, proof is perceived evidence of truth. This is very marketing speak, but what does that mean? That means that if it is evidence of truth, but it is not perceived as such, it is not proof. If, on the other hand, it really isn't evidence of truth, but it is perceived as that, it's proof. Perception is reality. I wish the world were not so, but it is. All right, so target, segment, brand, category, distinction, proof. You figure out these 6 things, you string them together in a sentence, and you end up with something that looks a lot like this. For target who are segment, brand provides the category with distinction because of proof. You can articulate the value prop of any organization using this simple framework. These are made-up examples, more or less. For drivers who value automotive performance, BMW provides luxury vehicles that deliver joy through German engineering. Is German engineering evidence of the ability of a machine to deliver joy? I don't know. People think it is. And so, you know what? It is. Here's another one. For people around the world, Coca-Cola is the soft drink that is the real thing since 1886. We actually use this for Coke. Now, what is it about the age of Coke? And that age, that 1886 thing, is a symbol of authenticity to people. And Coke is the original. It is the real thing. It just is. If you tell people something is long enough, they start to believe that it is. But anyway, so does it work for consumer stuff? Well, no. It works for anything. For industrial manufacturers who are challenged to differentiate, BASF is the raw material supplier that makes products better through engineering depth. All right, so this is a very B2B, hard-nosed, this is a chemicals company. But they articulate their value prop not in the manufacture of chemicals, but to a specific audience, industrial manufacturers. The segment is the subset of industrial manufacturers who are trying to differentiate. The brand is BASF. The category is they are a raw material supplier. What they do, their point of distinction is that they make products better, and the proof that they have of that is their depth of internal engineering. All right? So this is a very effective construct. And once you figure out something, I think of it as kind of scaffolding. You force yourself into these buckets and into an articulation of your value prop that maps roughly to this structure. And then, if you want to cut some corners or take some scaffolding down, once the building, comes in, knock yourself out. Maybe you abbreviate it, you shorten it. But it really is an important way to kind of begin. Final comment on this before I give you an example is that Remember that wherever possible, this is true of any communication, but I think particularly with respect to articulating the value prop of a business, you want to try and tell a story. Stories are much easier for other people to grasp. That's why they're incredibly effective. And this is a biological thing. Bullets are nice, very rational, you have these sentences with these awkward constructs where you can have a story, a bad guy, a good guy, a problem, and you can create that kind of a narrative in the way that you articulate your value prop, you're going to win. All right, so Actifio. So this was the way that they were explaining what they did in the very early days. All right, I'm going to just take a swing through this. Actifio, the Protection and Availability Storage, PAS, because techies love acronyms, platform company, pioneered the industry's first storage system optimized for managing copies of production data, eliminating redundant silos of IT infrastructure and data management applications. By introducing virtualization into data management, Actifio delivers an application-centric, SLA-driven solution that decouples the management of data from storage, network, and server infrastructure and reduces cost by 10x. So it's not awful. But if someone says to you, I saw this company, Actifio, and they are really cool, and that person says, so really, what do they do? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what they do. That's a lot of orange, though, which is cool. All right. So we went through a process. This was like my first week to try and figure out what this is. And this is where we netted out. For businesses that depend on their data, Actifio provides data management solutions that improve resiliency, agility, and cloud mobility by virtualizing copy data. All right, so this was the starting point. And what we did was we said, there's really three things that we do. We improve resiliency, meaning better data protection, agility, meaning we give people access to their application data when and where they need it, and we enable the transition to the cloud, this distributed IT infrastructure model that everybody is working towards. And the problem that we're solving is that application data, for the last 30 years has been backed up into these different silos of infrastructure. Right? You have, in the beginning there was backup. You got to back up your data, right? So you back it up, you create infrastructure, you back it up. Now you want to put a copy of that somewhere else in case a meteor hits your headquarters. Oh, well, that's disaster recovery. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a copy of your application data, and we're going to take that and we're going to put that somewhere else. And you're going to buy a separate system to do that, and you're going to need some extra storage because you're going to make another copy. Is that cool? Great. Business continuity, you want that back faster? Okay, we're going to give you a separate infrastructure to do that. It's going to make a copy of your application data, and we'll sell you some storage because you might need some extra storage for that. You want to build applications? You need copies of production data to do that? Oh, that's dev and test. Yeah, we have the product for you, and we're going to sell you a little more storage because you're going to need that, right? All these silos of infrastructure making copies of the same application data without knowing what copies already exist. You can't draw, make a simple path to pull stuff out of this. Once you create this infrastructure, your application data is bound to it. It's locked up in these silos of infrastructure that serve EMC's interests, but not yours. So this idea, so now we have a kind of narrative. And what we said is our technology, we have 36 patents pending or completed. It really does three things. We capture application data. We do that at the block level, at the lowest possible level, in the native format of those apps so you can recover them instantly, and according to an SLA that you can define in just a few clicks. We run that through a system we call the virtual data pipeline. We let you manage it as a single golden master that you can put anywhere on your infrastructure and that we update incrementally over time. And once you have that, you can spin up a virtual copy for any use, for anything. And you can have it instantly wherever you want, have instant access to that without provisioning more storage, without needing infrastructure. Actifio enables you to capture application data, manage it in the most efficient way possible, and use it when and where you need to. Actifio is copy data virtualization. We're virtualizing data in the same way VMware virtualized compute and Nicira virtualized the network. All right, so that narrative, right, which I can, my daughter understands that. She's just very smart, but she's, 14. getting to that from this sort of like, really deep technology and something, this is a really hard thing to understand, the virtualization of data. But we were able to tell it in that sort of as a story that starts with like, 30 years of backing stuff up into, has a bad guy. The big storage guys kind of benefit from this, but we got it to a place where it's like, that's a simple way to articulate. All right, so when I talked about, starting with the structure, that notion of what are the big benefits, resiliency, agility, and cloud, how did we get there? It's these silos of infrastructure that we want to break down. We're going to virtualize that. That got us to copy data virtualization, and then that led into this story that we tell about how it works, and things are going pretty well for us. So anyway, that's really what it is. All right. So I've been talking at you for a while now. Here's what I'd like to do. So we're going to pair off. If you're here with multiple team members, like pair off as a group. And what we're going to do is we're going to find another team or another individual who's got a business. And what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to articulate the value prop of your business using this framework. Don't give them the robust platform for the blah, blah, blah. Give them for target who our segment, brand is the category with distinction because of proof. How do you articulate your value prop to this other group? And I want you to say it to them, take a few minutes, gather it together, say it to them, and see if they understand it. And if they don't, try again. All right, so we're going to take 15 minutes to formulate that idea. I want everybody to do that. Then we're going to take 15 minutes of pitching, and what we're going to do is we're going to pitch each other and try to get to a place where we can refine that. And then after the first group has gone, the second group, we're going to switch, and then they're going to do the same thing to the group that just pitched them. All right, so we're going to we're going to do this in multiple 15-minute segments. We're going to we'll pair off real quickly. We'll just do that together. We'll take 15 minutes, everybody, not in those groups, but to work on your articulation, and I'll give you the framework. Figure out who is the target, who's the segment. You're going to uncover some very interesting things, which is even with your co-founders, you have a different view of who the segment is, or your view of the real distinction is different. Like, that's important. You should agree on that, right? That's part of the value of this exercise, I think, is that it forces you to get to alignment with your own team. We'll take the first 15 minutes, we'll do that. In the second 15 minutes, group 1 will pitch group 2 and iterate. And in the final 15 minutes, group 2 will pitch group 1. When we're all done here, I will ask for volunteers, and you can share your pitch, and we'll work on it together. Through the course of the exercise, I'll be walking around. I'll get to every group, and whatever I can do to help, I'm happy to do it. But what do you say we do this now? Cool? All right. This is it. We're going to take 15 minutes, so we're going to stop at 3 o'clock, and we're going to work on our articulation. Then we'll create a group. You'll be able to pitch them, work it through, and we'll go from there.
Clean that platform. So who's your partner? I don't know.
All right, guys, let's kind of bring it in here. All right, very lively discussion, lots of good ideas. People seem to grasp the framework, which is great. A couple of things worth sharing. The first is that don't hold yourselves to the standard of perfection, right? What you're looking for is a comprehensible articulation of your hypothesis. And you're going to go out in the world and you're going to try that on people. And they're going to give you one of two looks, either this, which is bad, or this, which is good. And you're going to shape this thing, evolve it over time so that you get more of this. One of my favorite books about marketing is a book called Born Standing Up. It's the biography of Steve Martin. And it's shaped my views in a lot of profound ways, believe it or not. But one of them is that he tells the story of his rise from telling his first joke at Knott's Berry Farm to headlining Madison Square Garden when he was the biggest comic in the world. And he articulates the story in his very human terms. And he says, look, you want to be a comedian, you write 10 jokes. You go out, you tell your 10 jokes. One of them will be great, 3 of them will suck, and 6 of them will be okay. You come up with new jokes to replace the ones that suck. And you go out and you tell 10 jokes. Now you have 2 jokes that work. And 4 years later, you'll have an hour and a half of material that kills every time and you go to Madison Square Garden. That's the book in a paragraph. I mean, lots of personal stuff, but that should be your mentality. That should be the mentality you bring to your marketing. Great marketers are a student of human response. All right, you put this stimulus out there, and you watch how they respond. Do they light up? And then you want that more, and so you adjust it, and you change the nuances. You articulate it in a different way. The point is just to be thoughtful about what you're going to share, and then to share it in the same way consistently at every point of contact with the marketplace, once you have something that you know works. But don't expect to sit in a dark room by yourself and come up with it, right? That's where you begin. After this, you've got to go out, you've got to talk to customers, see what they respond to, and shape your messaging in a way that gets them from point A to point B, okay? All right, so I heard some great stuff out there. Some people struggling with, it's interesting that some people struggle with segment, some people don't have a category, other people conflate distinction and proof, and that's all okay. So who has something that they want to share with the group, and we'll kick it around and we'll see if we can come up with something. Yes, you, sir.
I'm ready to go.
What's your name?
My name's Adam Rosette.
Adam? Come on up, Adam.
Sure.
And why don't you fire away?
All right. So, is this working? You can hear me?
This
Everybody?
thing on?
All right. So, for citizens and nonprofits who are actively engaged in a cause, Citizens Cafe is a social networking hub for civic engagement where people can universally connect based on shared values.
Whoa. That's a lot of words. All right, so how do we pare that back? So read it off to me one more time. For citizens
and nonprofits
and nonprofits who
are actively engaged in a cause, Citizens Cafe is a social networking hub for civic engagement where people can universally connect based on shared values.
Okay, let's take this apart. And I mean this in a helpful, absolutely. Okay. All right, so for citizens and nonprofits, all right, those are rarely things that are combined in that way. So help me understand, like, why both of those constituencies? Are you're really focused on both of those equally?
Well, nonprofits come into play when talking about civic engagement in our democracy. So that's maybe why the mention there, but it's really for citizens.
Right. So okay. So let's just start to pare this back. All right. So citizens, nonprofits are comprised of citizens actively engaged in a cause. Right. So this is redundant in some sense. So for citizens actively engaged in a cause, Citizens Cafe is the social networking hub. All right. So it's when you say describe it for me, what is the manifestation of this thing?
So it's an online platform.
Yeah.
So it's a social network that basically allows people to connect based off values they want to see in their communities.
Right. So can we say it's another way to do this would be to call it an online community? Like, and I'm asking the question: who knows what a social networking hub is, and like has a clear sense of that? Who knows what online community has a clear sense of that? Okay, so online community seems to like.
How about just social network?
Social hub? Hub is too vague, I think. That could be
That's why we had it first, and then we iterated to this.
Right. Is the social networking hub? I feel like there's a little bit of a stigma in social networking. It sort of trivializes what is an important function. What's that?
I think online platform is great.
Online platform? People love the platform.
So the point of this company is to be literally the hub for civic engagement.
Okay.
No space for.
Got
If
it.
you think of Nike, I mean, you think of sports, you think of Nike. Think of books, think of Amazon or Barnes and Nobles. You think of civic engagement, you think of Citizens Cafe.
All right, so how about destination site?
Is it suitable to say the hub is the hub for civic engagement?
That's what I originally had. That's what my original wording
All right,
was.
well,
The hub.
let's then you got to say it's online. You got to say something to modify hub. Is the online hub?
Online hub.
People like that? Okay. For civic engagement, okay. Now, people are, when you say civic engagement, I'm obviously engaged in a cause. Why is this a better online hub than the myriad other online hubs for this? Like if I'm interested in, let's say my thing is like saving the beaver. I want to save the beaver, and I can go to savethebeaver.com, right? And I can interact with other people there. Why is this better than that?
What if you don't know what you're interested in and you want to use civic engagement?
Well, there's this thing called Google, and I can Google and find there's other people interested in saving beavers.
It's going to take you 3 months to figure out what you're interested in.
But why, is there something about the mechanics of the way this is set up that's unique among the destination sites I can go to interact with people who are like-minded?
It's a discovery engine is what I'm gathering. You can browse through beavers and rivers and all the other stuff that you may want to save in one place.
So the idea is pretty big actually. So there's a couple parts to the process here. So number one, we're trying to change the way democracy works in this country.
Yep.
And so the problem right now is that it's very difficult to find out verified information online these days or anywhere.
Right.
So the first part of our platform is to provide a software that allows people to collaborate online together to verify information. So that's step one. And then based off verified information that our software provides, and then people figure out together and research and put on there, kind of like a Wikipedia, but like a better Wikipedia. I can't explain it right now in 2 seconds.
Yeah, yeah.
But then they can form actually their values and opinions based off facts rather than just this online discussion back and forth you see online now.
Got it. So if you were to say that, advocacy more effective, right? The distinction here is that because it combines an online community with objective facts or something like that. So I know this is wrong, but that idea, like what you just said, like when pushed against the wall, you came up with this passionate articulation that actually this works better than savethebeaver.com. And why is that? It's because you're bringing like-minded people together into a construct where you can do verification. And your advocacy can be based on fact. And then at the end, you have something rooted in fact to enable you to sort of come forward. So,
exactly.
so I don't know if it's, at the end of the day, this thing is going to enable more effective advocacy or something like that. That's really the benefit. The question with distinction is always one, and you got to force yourself. The other places that people can go to do whatever it is you do, why are you better, right? And you have a good answer to that question. That's got to be in your positioning. And it has to be why you're better through the lens of the person you're talking to. It has to be a benefit to the user that is compelling to them. Yes?
What if you believe that the distinction is that you're the first one doing this specific thing? And what do you say then?
Well, why is it better for the user? I understand why that may be better for the user. At the end of the day, why is that? There's a first mover advantage that manifests itself in terms of a user benefit. I mean, initially, I guess you're the only place where you can do whatever it is you do. There the competitive distinction isn't, it's somewhat different. But again, it has to be a benefit as perceived by the user. And at the end of the day, if you're saying like, look, you guys are like farting around trying to save beavers in all these different places, if you come and you engage in our platform, what you'll be able to do is collectively vet a set of facts that enable you to be a much more effective advocate for this thing.
And,
right.
And also on top of that, the other part of it is the brand. So like I said before, like when you think of sports, you have an instant brand to think of.
You want to own it.
And so we want to basically create a brand when people think of civic engagement, instantly in their heads they think of Citizens Cafe. Like this is the hub, literally. You don't have to go to savethebeavers.com. We'll link you there if you want to our platform, but come here first. Right.
So another way to do this would be, like this is a little turn of phrase that is also vivid. That you're saying that it's for people interested in impact and not just conversation. Like this isn't a site for whiners to go and whine together.
Right.
Like this is, the person you're attracting is someone who's a passionate advocate, and you want to give them the tools and the infrastructure they need to come together as a group and come up with a set of facts that are going to be compelling to people who feel otherwise about this activity. Right, so we don't have the sort of final answer here, but these ideas of what makes this unique, like you want to lead with those, put those out front, because there's some very powerful ideas in what you just articulated. And sometimes it's like, you just got to force yourself to get past the sort of fluffier stuff to sort of say, substantively, this is unique, and it sounds like it is. So anyway, I would sort of work from that.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so great exercise. So people starting to get it. So who else wants to come up and we'll, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello. For professionals looking for more fulfillment, Whole You is a career consultancy with a holistic approach to building a balanced, purposeful life.
Ooh, okay. No, that's okay. I sort of got it. I got it mostly. All right, for
Professionals looking for more fulfillment, Whole You is a career consultancy with a holistic approach to building a balanced, purposeful life.
Okay. All right, so I get it. So at the end of the day, what the user is interested in is building a more balanced, purposeful life, right?
Right.
Right. So is this for people who are specifically looking for more fulfillment, or anyone who is looking to make a job change that has to do with the whole person and not just, making another 10 grand? Like it's not just people who are, like, most people don't know that a job change is an opportunity to have more fulfillment. Like there's something unique in that idea. So it's for job seekers looking for a better life. Well, let's start with better and then we'll clarify. It's very hard to do this democratically, so I apologize if I run over anybody. For job seekers looking for a better life, and not just a better job, implicitly, Whole You is the career consultancy, and so this is I engage you as a sort of life coach, or is it an online thing, or what is it?
It's advising and educational media.
Okay.
So there is online content and a TV show.
Right. Focused on creating a more balanced and purposeful life with a holistic approach. All right, so the holistic approach, do people believe that an holistic approach will lead to a more balanced and purposeful life? So the idea is you're taking into account my needs as an individual, my emotional needs, like a comprehensive assessment of the things that I want. And I'm going to go to that. I don't get that at Career Builder, right? They ask me for my whatever. It's been a while, but so do people buy holistic approach as evidence of a career consultancy's ability to deliver this more balanced and purposeful life? Do people buy that as proof? Who does? Okay. All right. So this holistic approach, tell me a little bit more about it. Do you interview me? How do you take this approach? What's proprietary about your methodology?
There is an assessment, and there's 3 core areas that I look at. So wellness, career, and service.
Right.
Wellness of mind, body, because people could have a career and they don't get enough sleep, they don't eat well, they're not, of sound mind, they don't meditate, so then,
Right.
I assess where they are and then offer solutions and support and inspiration and motivation around those areas that will get them to reach the goals that they'd like to and integrate them.
Right. So rather than being focused, at the end of the day, the user benefit is it's that you deliver a more balanced and purposeful life because it's focused on the whole you. Right. So there's something in your name, right? You chose that name for a very good reason, which is that's sort of the essence of this thing, right? So for job seekers looking for a better life, Whole You is the career consultancy that delivers a more balanced and purposeful life because it's focused on the whole you. All right, everybody know what that is and get a sense of that? So I think that's a starting point. But that notion, I love the name. And I think that is your proof. And I think you want to call that out. You want to create that association. And that begs the question of how? And then you can articulate what you just articulated in terms of your methodology, which I buy that completely.
Sweet.
So I would start with that.
Thank you. Can I take a picture of that before you
Yeah,
change
sure,
it? Okay.
sure.
Thanks.
All right, we could probably do one or maybe two more. Yes, ma'am. There you go.
So I'm struggling with the format a lot.
Okay.
So Navitome offers small and medium-sized businesses an easy, secure online tool for walking their employees and customers through complex processes.
Okay. Navitome offers
Small and medium-sized businesses an easy, secure online tool for walking their employees and customers through complex processes.
Okay. I have no idea what that is. All right, so who is the target? Who buys this thing?
Small to medium-sized, usually service-based businesses or nonprofits with 500 employees or less
Okay.
in the U.S.
All right. Is there another defining character of these businesses? Are they local businesses? Do they tend to be? It's just so many words to get to the idea of is it like, what's the upper limit of the size of business that you feel like you could help?
500 employees.
500 employees,
It's
okay.
actually who it's not. So we're not talking about people that are looking for like an integrated enterprise software solution.
Got it. So we call that the mid-market in our business. So if we were to say for mid-market businesses, and that's distinct from small business or enterprises, right? So mom and pop on the street corner, probably outside the target too, and enterprises outside the target. So it's really mid-market. So for mid-market businesses.
It could be a sole prop like a certified financial planner. I could
Okay.
see using.
Okay. Right. So it could be a financial planner. Okay. All right. Well, we'll come back to that. So Navitome is what is it?
Have you ever used TurboTax?
Yes.
So what we do is we give people that have complex business processes the ability to make something like TurboTax, but for whatever their business process is.
Oh, okay.
So say if I'm a CFP and I've got this customer onboarding, I need you to bring these 20 things in for your first meeting. They lose a lot of customers because what they're doing is sending a 5-page set of instructions that nobody can follow. Or say I'm a community college, I'm gonna have effectively 11 to 12% of the people who start the application process finish it.
Got it.
It's a complex workflow. It's variable. And so what you're actually trying to do is give people the information that they need when they need it and not ask them to interact with a bunch of information that's not relevant or at the wrong time.
Got it.
That's what our tool does.
Okay. So if we could say that is the secure online tool that makes it easy, is always good, to bring complex processes online because it, convince me, prove to me that you can, what is it about your approach that makes it easy to bring complex processes online?
So for the person who's creating the process, we're like business process management software. Some processes map like decision trees and not like linear flows.
Yeah.
You can do that in our software. But for the end user, I mean, you'd never hand a BPM solution to your customers or to somebody trying to apply to community college. That's awful.
Sure.
So for the end user, it's like courseware. But for the person that's mapping out the process, it has the ability to map all the variability that BPM could do.
Okay, and do I need any specialized skills as the business owner who's putting this process online?
If you can handle drag and drop, you can use our tool.
Got it. Got it. So for mid-market, we may go back to your original. For small to, or let's just say, I think you're not going to get too much confusion with the enterprise, right? They're going to know you're not a replacement for SAP. So we're maybe spending too much time trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist. So if we say for businesses, and the defining character is that that they require a complex business process, right?
Yeah. It's not a one-size-fits-all process.
Yeah. For businesses, let's say delivering a complex business process, or that's perhaps not the right word. Navitome is the secure online tool that, and At the end of the day, this is going to make me more money. It's going to bring me new customers. What's the benefit to me as this user? I'm a small business owner. How is this going to help me?
One of the main things is that these types of processes keep people from getting customers.
Right.
Think about community colleges and CFPs. So it's a customer onboarding problem. But the other thing is, as a training solution, it can be used in the enterprise. If I don't want to get up from my desk and walk over to your desk every time I need to show you how to do something, then it's a cost savings as well, because it allows you to systematize your business processes.
Right. So you would really need to pick which of those, or discover over time, which of those two value props was more compelling to your target. And that, if you were standing at a trade show and you're going to talk to 10 people, with 5 of those people, tell them that you're going to bring them new customers, and with 5 of them, tell them that you're going to reduce the labor intensity of delivery or something like that. You're give them more leverage in their business. My instinct is that finding new customers will have more appeal. That brings new customers to you. Another tough one. So for businesses, but let's just sort of say structurally, what are we trying to do? So for businesses, right, I think that's fine. And if you have a room full of business owners, the ones you're looking for are the ones that are defined by some complex process or interaction, right? Navitome is what is it? A secure online tool. You had that. And what's the benefit? The benefit is that you're going to bring new customers to them. Okay, so you're making the claim of the ability to bring new customers. And the support for that is what? What specifically, at the end of the day, the customers see this process and they understand it more fully, or they can try it with less risk. What is the mechanism by which this brings me new customers as the proprietor of one of these businesses, do you think?
It's just easier to get through the process. So if somebody asks me to do my taxes and hands me IRS Publication 17 and a stack of 57 forms, I'm going to get levied because I'm not doing my taxes.
Got it.
But if somebody gives me TurboTax, I can do that. I will do that.
Got it. Is it really that it makes complex data entry easy?
It's not really about data entry. It actually delivers the process in the form of a learning module, like learning management system software.
Got it. And there is like a sort of startup cost associated with this typically, okay. So what are your thoughts on, like, what's the proof point that you can bring me new customers? What is the mechanism? What can you say to me that would convince me of your ability to do that?
It makes it easy to get through your onboarding process.
Right, because it makes onboarding easy. That's pretty compelling. So for businesses involving a complex process, Navitome is the secure online tool that brings more new customers to you because it makes onboarding easy.
Would you recommend it not being stated as reduces customer attrition, sort of as a negative, versus saying it brings new customers? It actually is reducing your attrition rate, which is, I think, what you were saying is the real problem.
Yeah, reducing attrition is I think, harder to wrap your head around than the visceral benefit of bringing me new customers. But that is another route. And again, there are no right answers here. That may be something else you want to try with different people to see what works. But I kind of understand what this is. Like, now I understand what it is. And if you were to start with something, and again, this probably needs to evolve through a few more cycles, but and there may be some other way to sort of identify the nature of the business, the segment. But I think that's okay. But I think what's interesting is that you had suppressed the most important thing, which is what's the benefit to the user. At the end of the day, your value prop to your customer is that you're going to make it easier for them to find new customers. So the headline on your website is "Get New Customers Easier" with Navitome. Like that's a really important idea. You want to lead with that. That's the benefit, and then the mechanics of how you do that comes second. Okay, good stuff. All right, guys. It's a little after 4. It's been a long day. I really appreciate all the time and energy. I'm going to stick around for a little while longer if people have specific questions, but probably only for like a little while. But it's been really fun. I hope you got something valuable out of this. And look, it's a great thing that you're doing. I applaud you all for trying to will something into being that has not yet existed. And I wish you all the best of luck in your ventures. Thanks.